ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Single Parents Daily Podcast with your hosts
Chady Zenmore.
and Evan DeMarco. We actually pulled that off pretty impressively considering that we're in different parts of the state right now doing another Zoom podcast in the age of COVID. I've said
Yeah.
it before. I will say it again. Fuck you, COVID. I apologize to all of those people who are listening to this with kids in the car, but they need to hear this as well as just fuck you, COVID.
I know it ruined Halloween this year. I feel bad. Like, the kids are, we had to get creative as parents. I know a lot of parents did a lot of scavenger hunts in the house, and some did like trick or treat with families, some did drive throughs, and some let their kids go out.
I know that's crazy.
I saw trick or treaters out.
I know.
But here's the thing, also, too, Evan, like, I would love to hear your input, but we're wearing costumes, like, we're wearing masks. Most kids are, at least. And, you know, I guess like you have to be innovative and like throwing the candy to kids, and we have to grab it with a bag or something.
Yeah, social distance hucking.
Yeah.
You know,
What
it's
were your
those
thoughts on that?
T-shirt guns that you get, that you see at like basketball games. Like do
Yeah.
that with candy. Here's my take on this. There comes, this is a tough one, and my daughter
Mm-hmm.
loves Halloween. She said it today. It's
Mm-hmm.
her second favorite holiday behind Easter, apparently, which I would have thought Christmas.
Mm.
But we as parents have to be responsible for undoing the damage that's done with COVID. We had
Mm-hmm.
our worst day ever as far as cases, and we can argue the merits medically of, more testing equals more cases and all of that. Yes, the deaths are going down. Those are great numbers. We love hearing that. But the cases are going up, which means that people are taking this less and less responsibly, less and less seriously, and that's a problem. And it just comes a point where we have to say, okay, look, we're going to put the status quo on hold for a little bit, and we're going to get ahead of this. Now, I want to talk medically real quick, and then we can get into the fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this disease creates an almost diabetic environment in a host. So medically,
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is people who have high A1C, they naturally have high blood sugar, they're diabetic, they're pre-diabetic. If they those are the people that are most at risk for succumbing to this disease. Now what happens is you flood your system with a bunch of candy. You're pre-diabetic anyway, so you can actually exacerbate the spread of this virus just by eating candy. Now
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be some medical people who disagree with me on that one, but let's be honest, right? Like when your immune system is compromised and you're dealing with an inflammatory state that comes from eating all of that sugar, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to be more prone to this disease. So yeah, I mean, this is my rant. I think that we have to be responsible. I think that there are great ways to do it. Set out the bowl of candy, throw it at kids, do whatever. But I in my neighborhood, which is normally, I think last year we gave out 600 pieces of candy. We just didn't
Mm-hmm.
do it this year.
Yeah, we didn't do it either, actually. We just were around close friends of ours. A friend of ours who's a nurse, she had like probably 6, 7 people at her house. They were like, I'm sorry, it was probably 4 couples. And then my daughter didn't go trick or treating, which I'm thankfully her dad didn't let her go, but she hung out with some two of her classmates that she already goes to school with that are, COVID free. And it's hard this year, but I'm glad that all of us are being aware of it, and I'm glad that we were able to still dress up.
Yeah. Look, my daughter dressed up and I had her go trick or treating at my back door. So I bought a bag of 160 pieces of candy and she knocked on the back
Okay.
door 160 times and said trick or treat. And by the end of it, I was like, just take the damn candy. Like, here you go. Here's the bag of it. Um,
That's so cute. What'd she dress up as?
she was a dragon.
Oh, super cute. Did you dress up?
No, no, I put on
What?
pants
So, do you ever dress up?
for Halloween.
Yeah.
Uh,
He
okay.
said for Halloween. He's like, well,
So
normally I don't ever dress up. And
uh,
second, I don't ever dress up for Halloween.
yeah, I can't remember the last time I actually, did real. So let's talk about this real fast because I think you might have better insights into this one. Halloween was fantastic as a kid, right? Like you'd go out, you'd get, as much candy as possible, and you'd be hopped up on sugar for like 2 months afterwards if you did it
Yeah.
sparingly, which I did. And then you get to that point, I think your daughter's age, right? Where you're 12, 13, and Halloween just kind of loses its whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then there comes a point, especially for girls, and I'm going to apologize, but it needs to be said. When did
Hmm.
Halloween become an excuse to be just dress up like a slut. And I'm like, I'm gonna get hate
Yeah.
mail for this one, but putting on white lingerie and a halo does not make you an angel. It just makes you, slutty.
Well, so here's the thing also too. I feel like people find excuses for everything. Not everybody dresses up like a slut, you
No.
know? So, but I feel like also too there's girls, it's like they can get away with like if they have the physique and there's a lot of beautiful girls out there that have fantastic bodies and we know them,
Yes.
especially being in the fitness industry, and they can get away with dressing up in certain costumes, you know? Like I feel like there's a time and place for everything and that's the time that they can do it and I think for me it's hard because I have a teenager and this is the time where like, they dress up like angels and devils and cute little schoolgirl costumes and et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, we just have to be parents kind of like that's acceptable, that's not acceptable. But, you know, it's just it's everywhere, babe. It's like
Yeah.
everybody's like dressing up like and maybe it won't be your daughter, maybe it will. Maybe it'll be her friends, maybe it won't. You never know, but be careful what you say and just be open to it because some of the stuff that we like for me, I just, I wanted my daughter to do a lot of things and she's anti a lot of the things I would love her to do. So, but I am blessed and grateful that she is more conservative as far as like social media, putting herself out there, but also too, I try not to talk about it too much or saying I'm anti certain things because I feel like there's in every kid there's a rebellious part of them. You know what I mean?
True.
And I try not to like talk about it or complain about it because also too I don't want her to be that person. I don't want her to judge other people because people do things for a lot of reasons, right? They do it because daddy issues, their insecurities. It's the one time they get to have that boy's attentions or that girl's attention because they can either look like a funny character or be show their muscles. Like guys do it too. It's not just girls.
True, very
So,
true. And I think what drives that kind of behavior, as you pointed out, is a general insecurity. It's a need for
mhm,
validation in some capacity. And so my hope as a parent is that she never feels like she has to dress like that because she's not craving validation for the way that she looks. And
there
and
you
that's
go.
that's my success
Mhm,
story or my success hope as a parent is I want my daughter to not need validation from anybody else, especially social media, and
mhm.
certainly not in the way that a lot of these people are doing it. Where, yes, and again, it's that one time a year, it's one day, whatnot. But I still think that there's this underlying current of what makes you compelled to dress like that versus going as the State Puff Marshmallow Man. Like it's
Yeah, it's their physiques, I'm telling you, it's confidence, it's words of affirmation, people just getting that, like, a reaction out of someone, and
mhm,
then it's constant, and then it becomes repetitive, it's like social media, right? And
it's a
they're
drug.
getting or it's somebody losing weight, and then somebody's like, "Wow, you look super skinny, you look great." Whether they were sick and no one knew about that they're sick and they're losing weight, it's the attention, so then they're like, "Well, maybe I do look better skinny," or maybe I do, like so David look, he was Beetlejuice. He's known for his artwork, and now people are like seeing a different side of him. And like so he's like he was loving it. He started owning that character, and it was funny. But everybody again does things like, we did it for fun and creative. Like it was a creative outlet for both of us. And we got to see our kids' reactions. Like my family knows and my like our kids know that Halloween's coming and we're going big and we're going hard. So they anticipate us and we love their reaction because they're like now and we know this as parents it's completely outside of the reaction of it being a fun thing. We know as parents and all the therapists that we've interviewed it's insecurity. A lot of it has to do with insecurity or they're not getting it from home or from their relationship and they're getting it from someone else or I
Yep.
mean think about college kids when they go to these theme parties when it's like the Caesar, like
Toga
the
party.
white the toga parties, exactly. Some people come in looking like Greek, like the costumes, or they come out looking like sexy Greek goddesses or gladiators and they're showing their muscles and like there's, you know,
Oh, I might have rubbed myself down with baby oil prior to a toga party or two.
exactly.
When once again I was seeking validation in all the wrong places, and that's a young man's game.
hmm
It's just unfortunate that social media has made what is a young person's game into more of an every person's game. Did you see the
Yeah.
Social Dilemma?
I was just about to ask you that. Yes, I saw it. Oh my god. Oh, it's so like I was watching it, it was like, oh my god, these cookies, the cookies get us every single time. They like literally like fishing and just wheeling us in. I will I was I'm that person. I'm on the internet and I'm like, I looked at those shoes 2 times and they keep popping up now. Every time I'm, I'm working, trying to do something with work related social media. And but yeah, it's it became made me more aware of just so much, and it's so good for us as parents to be aware of stuff like that. And I had to let my daughter check it out and watch it because David started putting his phone by the bathroom, so instead of next to the bed now, and he's trying to create better habits. And I'm like, oh, I need to start doing that too.
Good man.
um be- it's it's crazy. If so, anybody who's listening, parents and anybody can watch this movie. You have to watch Social Distancing. Is it Social Distance or Social what's it?
Social dilemma.
I'm sorry, Social Dilemma. A phenomenal movie. It was, and I did you see the I'm sorry, there was a podcast I think with Joe Rogan and the director.
Hmm.
Did you see or hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it on YouTube the other day and I was like fascinated by even his input on him directing that movie.
Look, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen it, let's break it down Barney style for you, which is a Craig Allenson reference to some books. Those are things that you used to open and read, rather than scrolling through Instagram. For those of you who don't know what a book is, but basically, what social media has done is turned us into the commodity. Right? Companies aren't selling anything. So as you scroll and as they start to track all of this behavior, ultimately they can market that behavior back to you in the form of advertising from people who are willing to spend big bucks. And
Hmm.
that becomes the challenge, right? So every habit that we develop online, every habit that we develop through social media really puts us in a place where that data becomes a commodity that can be leveraged for someone else, for another company. And granted, I've spent a lot of money on advertising in social media through Google, and I understand the value of that data, but being on the other side of it, being the data itself, I'm like, holy shit, that's not good. So
Yeah.
and really every element of social media is designed to do one thing, and that is keep you there longer. And if we can extract that to any other business on the planet, it's drugs. They're drug
Hmm.
dealers. We're going to give you the first taste for free, and then we're going to just keep you coming back until you die. And that's what social media is. And so, can we live without it? No. How do we develop social, healthy habits? So let's talk a little bit about that. Why not? We're
Hmm.
going all over the place today. Halloween to social dilemma. But before we get
um,
to that, why can't ghosts have babies?
I don't know. I know it's a
Because
dad joke coming on.
because they have Halloweeners.
Wieners. Oh, so cute. It's a cute little dad joke.
It might be a little PG-13, but okay.
Well, I we had a great Halloween. I'm glad you guys had a great Halloween. I'm glad we're still safe. And the only reason we are not together in a room for our listeners is because of just scheduling and yeah, mostly scheduling with our
Although I
families
did
and
just get
kids.
back from Mexico, so
Yeah,
I
how
feel
was that?
I survived a hurricane.
What? There was a hurricane?
Hurricane Zeta went right through the Yucatan Peninsula, at ground zero. I was literally in the middle of a hurricane.
What category?
Category 1. It was like a stiff
Okay.
breeze. It
Like
was
a tropical
nothing.
storm.
Yeah. It was
Well, that kind of sucks though, because you went there for vacation. And how long was it? Like 2, 3 days raining?
no, it was one day. One
Okay,
day.
that's
So,
good.
so for those of you who don't know, I'm also the co-host of another podcast and digital content platform, Complete Human, and we do a lot of biooptimization work. And so we were actually doing a documentary, filming a documentary for NBC down there on stem cells and medical tourism. And so we're in the lab getting stem cells, and then the doctor comes in. He's like, "We've got to hurry up and get these done because you have to be off the roads and back to your hotel by 2:30." And we're like, "Why is that?" He's like, "They've just upgraded Tropical Storm Zeta to a hurricane. It's a Category 1, but the government has said that no traffic other than essential traffic on the road after 2:30."
Hmm.
So we rush, get the stem cells, get back to the hotel, and then we're like sitting on the beach, having lunch at 4 o'clock, and it's not that bad. About 8 o'clock, it really picked up. They had sustained winds of about 70 to 80 miles an hour. And I mean,
Hmm.
it was interesting. I actually ended up doing a live hit for NBC while I was there. So they didn't have anybody on the ground to cover the hurricanes. They're like, "Hey, you're there. Can you do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So we're out on the balcony, filming this, and it's not horrible, but I mean, it's enough to ruin a vacation. So I
Yeah.
survived my first hurricane. It lasted about 24 hours. And by the next day, by 11 o'clock the next day, everybody was at the pool drinking.
Nice. Yeah, the best weather is usually after a huge hurricane. I've been in a couple. Category 5, Hurricane Andrew. That was in 96, 97.
Down in
That
Miami.
was, yes, that was not fun. And a couple of other hurricanes less than that. That was the most extensive as far as the biggest and the most damaging in Florida. But yeah, those are no fun. And I'm glad that you got to get away for a little bit. I'm going to be in Mexico in a couple weeks. So hopefully there's no hurricanes around then. They
Hope
usually stop at the end of August. I mean, sorry, the end of October. So I think I'm good.
they do. Now we can pivot into global warming and talk about how that's going to be a problem. But I'd like to,
Mm,
maybe that's another topic. So just to reiterate is I am also social distancing because I did travel, and I want to make sure that people around me are safe as possible. Again, it's just back to responsibility, right? Like
mhm,
I want to eradicate this. I want life to kind of come back to normal. I know it's never going to be like it was. We're going to be wearing masks on planes for years. It's inevitable. But
mm.
I'd like kids to get back to school. My I just found
Yeah,
out
was
this
your
week.
daughter going back to school anytime soon?
No,
No, not even like next year.
at this point, they have said that can change, but according to from my understanding of Sacramento school districts is that we have to get below a certain school district percentage, and with
Hmm.
cases going up and up and up, we're not headed in the right direction. So at this point, it doesn't look like it, and so I think distance learning is going to continue to be something that I'm guessing that it's going to be all of first grade.
Wow. Yeah, David's kids are still home. And Sophia's been able to go back to school at least 2 or 3 days a week. So that's been nice.
And that's an interesting thing, right? Hey, no coughing on the set. It's not COVID, ladies and gentlemen. It's not COVID.
No, it's not COVID. Excuse me 1 second. So you guys know I'm outside.
Allergies.
It's super dusty out here.
Well,
I
and the air
usually hose
quality is
down. Yeah, the air quality, and I usually hose it down back here, but we're by a lake, spiders, webs, just, and I decided to film out here thinking because the kids are back, more quiet. Excuse me. I'm good though. I'm healthy.
good. Good. No single parent left behind.
No, I have been making sure that besides the people we're around and masks and so on, washing our hands, but sleep, um, not drinking. I think I had a couple of glasses of wine this weekend. And then also too, like just nutrition and exercise. It pretty, I think that's everything to me, as long as keeping my immune system up besides supplementation. So
Good.
yeah, I'm not getting stem cells yet, but
We'll get there.
we're all, you and I are like definitely being responsible as far as taking care of ourselves. And I hope you get your baby to school soon because I know that's very, very, very stressful.
It is. It's stressful in the sense that everything feels like it's in limbo right now. And I
Yeah.
think that, I'd like to get your take on this, but for the younger kids who are distance learning, there's the there's the disconnect from the work, and then trying to be a teacher and work and then be a parent, and wearing all of these different hats. And it's kind of like keto. It's just not sustainable, right? Um, something's going to give, and most likely where that's going to give is this going to, I would assume, would be somewhat of this mass epidemic of a uneducated or a diseducated youth that comes out of this, right? We are not equipped. I didn't go to college to be a teacher, and granted, I can plug her into
Mhm.
a Zoom and she can, she can get that, but she's not getting the energetic connection that comes from being in a classroom and having that one-on-one relationship with a teacher, having that, that thing with our kids. So I think that we're gonna something's gonna give, and it's just it's not sustainable. So we we constantly deal with the tumultuous nature of life the way that it is right now, trying to juggle all of this as single parents
Yeah.
and knowing that it's like treading water with holding bricks. And so I'd love to get your take on it. Your daughter's back in school a couple of days. Does that free you up in some capacity, or do you feel like you're kind of getting back to a little more of a sense of normalcy?
Yes, 100%. Um, I mean, gosh, even though it's only 2 days a week and it's only school days aren't as long, and it's probably not the ideal school for her because they can't eat in the cafeteria. They're all eating outside. The weather's gonna get colder and it's gonna start raining. I feel bad for her because that math, the kids are all they can't communicate with each other. But as far as a parent, yeah, I mean, I have a couple hours more to myself and I get to work more. But even then, like what the whole point of this is keeping our kids happy and safe. And the fact is, I don't even know if it's worth it, like her going to school. It's more for her to feel like she's connected to other kids. But I just feel like it's going to be really interesting to see how the school districts count a lot of the school exams because my daughter's, she's doing well in school, but I feel like she struggles as far as understanding like the assignments because usually you can get some type of feedback through other classmates. The teaching is just different. It is just a interesting year, and high school is different than grade school. Everything counts from here on out. So I think that's the hardest part. And then also extracurricular activities. She wants to do cheerleading, and she's going to try to opt for it next year. But this year is she's just not motivated because of all the rules and stuff that's going on. She's just like, I can't really do anything, so I'll just work out at home.
It's tough. And
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we need to face as parents is the reality that things are going to be forever changed.
Hmm.
Um, I had a very interesting conversation with a doctor the other day, and we were talking about one of the reasons that America has the greatest per capita percentage of the deaths, and that's just straight obesity, right? We are a fat country. And what we find is that there's a couple different things. People who are obese tend to be more susceptible to the virus. They shed the virus longer, meaning they're what you would call super spreaders or super carriers. So people who typically have a BMI of 25 and over are going to be more prone to to spreading that virus. They're also better hosts for mutations. So
Mm.
as all of these things happen, you've got this issue where this virus is going to continue to spread and spread and spread, especially through populations where obesity runs rampant, the United States. Now, one other fundamental component to this is that vaccines have typically never worked on an obese person. And so now we're banking our entire future on this vaccine. And historically, vaccines have not worked for the largest at risk population for this virus. So again,
Interesting.
we see
You're
the stuff.
saying the flu virus.
Mhm.
Wow, I didn't
And
know that.
how do I know that?
No, I said I didn't know that. That's
Oh,
fascinating.
yeah, and the CDC has come out with this. There's been a lot of doctor research that's come out with this, and we're banking on this. And let's be honest, it's just not going to work, right? We've got a vaccine that's not going to work for a significant portion of the population, and if you do the data on it, you know, up to 50% of our population is considered, obese or overweight. So, what happens when half the population can't get the vaccine or the vaccine is ineffective with them? They're super spreaders, they're hosts for mutation. What does the next couple of years look like? And it's not pretty. And
Yeah.
this is the time now, parents. I'm telling you right now, if not for, if we can debate the merits of this, and it's not fat shaming, right? This is 100% data. So I've talked a little bit about this in some interviews recently, and I've been called out for fat shaming. I'm like, this is not fat shaming. This is just the data, right? Like if you're obese, you are at a higher risk. The CDC releases this data,
Mhm.
but you've got to get your kids in a healthy routine right now, and that is stay off the sugar, anything processed, anything with like high omega 6 type of stuff, anything that puts them at a higher risk, and make sure they're getting protein, right? T cells, the memory cells that will fight this virus after it mutates or after it comes back again and again and again, those need protein. So,
Mhm.
everybody thinks that they're going to, fix their kid with a kale smoothie. You know, clean protein, 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 protein. I don't want to sound like a bodybuilder, but
Yeah.
let's let's eat healthy right now and prepare this generation to survive this virus and ultimately thrive.
What are you doing with your daughter? So let's say there we have a listener right now who has younger kids and they're like, "Okay, give us some examples as far as you're seeing proteins, like what are you doing with your daughter as far as like whether if it's supplementations, nutrition, exercise because now, you're homeschooling, you're a PE teacher now. So are you implementing anything with her?"
Absolutely. So we do PE every day. I flat out told the district that there's no way that I would do a Zoom-based PE, and I'm sorry. I know that the PE teachers are just trying to do their jobs and whatnot, but you can't teach PE physical education through Zoom. So we do that every day, which incorporates everything from, running, biking. We're doing weights here. She's 6.5 years
Mhm.
old, and we're starting to do weights here. We've got gymnastics equipment here at the house. We're doing everything that we can to keep these kids active. One of the things that I found too, and what we look at education wise, is that education or the ability to, recall information is tied to physical activity. So I'm doing flashcards on the trampoline. We're finding a way to try to make this work. Um, but
It's interesting that you're saying weights, because usually a lot of parents stay away from it. They're like, "Oh, my kid has to be a certain age to hit any weights." I'd love to hear your insight on that because usually it hurts. It's a lot of parents have been shared that it like stunts their growth.
no, no, I mean, like if you're doing Olympic style heavy lifting, yeah, you've got some issues, but
Hmm.
just simple things, taking a 2 pound dumbbell and doing some curls and presses,
Of course.
simple things where we're teaching good behavior, and that's what it is right now, teaching good behavior, teaching healthy habits. And I want her to love working out as much as I do. I want her to love health and wellness as much as I do. And that doesn't begin by making her do it. It begins by, encouraging her to do it in a world where we're all doing it together. And so,
Hmm.
that's the big thing. Um,
That's awesome. That's awesome that you're doing that with her. I do that with my daughter. Like I do a couple of miles runs with her, make her go on dog walks with me. Sometimes we create little mini hits, as many rounds as possible within 15 to 20 minutes. And she's even, helped her friends like with workout programs. But yeah, it's really important that a parent will do that with their kids because there's a lot of parents out there and I get it, like we're all busy. But if you can, find an excuse to even take care of yourself to do it with your kids, that's crucial with also staying healthy during these times,
Absolutely.
especially with your immune system. Because I can give all the excuses with my health, but I know that working out is essential for me to sweat because of my kidney problems, because of my lupus. And then I just provide, you know, turmeric to all the inflammation pills and supplementations, like everything that you've taught me. And I just know that there's days I do not want to do it. And I know it's usually when I do not want to do it is when I need it the most, even if it's 20 minutes. And it's because something's going on with, did I not sleep enough? Something wrong with my gut health? And I'm dehydrated. There's always reasons for those moods and not wanting to do it. But grateful for learning a lot through you, through Omax, through all the companies I've worked with, and then also through all these times. I'm just praying that a lot of the companies, I'm sorry, a lot of the parents are educating themselves besides the podcast, knowing that you got to be physical. It's not fat shaming because I used to weigh over 200 pounds and I know what it feels like. A lot of my health issues became, I feel like they stemmed because my health, I gained all this weight. That's
Hmm.
when it started like showing up. Yeah, I was diagnosed with a kidney disease at 4, but a lot of people, and people know this. They know that you're not fat shaming. It's only, I would say, only the people who are always trying to find excuses for self-love, and I'm all for self-love as far as taking care of ourselves and having a bagel or a cookie or a drink here and
Mhm.
there, but there's got to be a balance. And if you're like going to extremes, you're teaching your kids that pattern. So
Absolutely.
I
Now
yeah, I love that.
here's one question. Actually, because I think that we were going to do well. We've got a couple minutes left on this one, and this has been all over the place. But I want to get your take on this. So I got an email of a let's just say it. I got an email from a lingerie company. And
Mhm.
I get them daily. I'm sure I've ordered something or lots of somethings from that company in the
Mhm.
past. And I opened it, and what I saw on there was a very, very, very plus size model.
Mhm.
And I had a very visceral reaction to that one. Here's the social conundrum on this one. I feel that that is a deplorable thing to
Hmm.
advertise using that plus size model. And this is where people are going to blam blast me, and I don't care. We are at a point where we have to acknowledge that that plus size model and embracing that body style, that body type, that body image as okay is doing a world of disservice. We are all but saying, based off the data, that that is okay to look like that. That is okay to embrace that. And subsequently, what we know from the data is you are going to kill yourself.
Mhm.
So I, I I take the position on this one from a purely scientific standpoint. I don't give a crap what, if you're be happy, right? Find a way to be happy in your own skin, but find a way to be healthy as well. And so
Mhm.
is it irresponsible for companies to advertise images that represent a very, very unhealthy lifestyle under the guise that we have to embrace all body types?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel that it's not irresponsible, and it's and hear me on this, because I totally understand what you're saying as far as, you know, we don't want to like pat people on the back for being unhealthy, but also too, there's a lot of people who look really lean and, you know, and they're not healthy. Then there's a lot of people who are fuller and they're more healthier than the people who are skinnier. So judging someone by the way they look, saying they're not deserving of love and lingerie, or not to be desired, because ever again, it's like someone, a girl cutting their hair like a boy, right? Really short, the pixie haircut. There's a lot of men who are attracted to that. And there's a lot of men who like a lot of women to have be thicker. And
Hmm.
and vice versa. I know guys who have a certain type when they like that really skinny, lean girl. There's guys who like the athletic because they like to, for them, they see athletic, healthy. Again, I feel like it's taste, it's preference, and I feel like I personally like the fact that they're showcasing different body types, because as a woman who has gone from both different sides of being overweight to someone who is leaner, I I still am struggling with health issues in both sides,
Okay.
So I
And
would say, and I would be, even when I was at my heaviest, right? And I would think that my ex-husband wasn't attracted to me. And even when I became a bikini champion, things were changing. So to sit there and say, hey, it's so much bigger than just like promoting health. And I know what you're trying to say. But as far as someone promoting lingerie, someone promoting, hey, you can buy clothes from till you collapse to anything. Complete Humans has a line, and we have a line from extra small to extra large. And there's people who will message you and they're gonna be like, how come you don't have any bigger sizes? And we get it all the time. And since we promote fitness apparel, it's not that we don't think that people should be bigger. It's just, and that's another conversation with our owner should be talking, because he talks like you. He thinks that, we shouldn't be promoting, but he also thinks that women should come in all different shapes and sizes. So, you know,
here,
it's
here's
hard.
my Yeah, and I certainly understand that. And my thing
Yeah.
is that I want to embrace it. This is not a knock on people in general. And yes, everybody is deserving of love. What
Mhm.
defines a person is their character. It's not the physical attributes. But now we've gone to this place in society where we feel like we have to embrace everybody, right? Like Victoria's Secret went from the stick figures, so now they've got all the plus size models because there was this blowback. But what we're
Mhm.
seeing in the data is that person who's got a clear BMI of over 30 is statistically more likely to shed that virus longer, infect more
Mhm.
people, mutate that virus, meaning this virus stays in our society longer,
Mhm.
and be more susceptible to that virus because of
Mhm.
their biological, because of their biological chemistry. So
Mhm.
if that person were to, I'm pulling analogies out of my what, but if someone has AIDS and they go out and they sleep with a bunch of people, are we going to celebrate that person? No.
Mhm.
Are we? And maybe this is a bad analogy, but we're celebrating people who have the potential to go out and kill others.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's socially acceptable. And again, this isn't about the person themselves. This isn't about the model themselves. What I'm saying is, have we as society become so like just sensitive to everything that now we're in a place where we feel it's necessary to promote a body image that has the potential to kill people? And that's where I'm getting at, right? Like we can debate the merits, but statistically anybody with a BMI over 25%, and this model that I'm referring
Mhm.
to clearly has a
Mhm.
BMI well over that,
Mhm.
she has a higher probability of killing people.
Well, I think a lot of people are not as educated as you. And yes, we do live in a society where everyone is uber sensitive, and we know this. But also, too, from someone again who has gone in the fitness industry, who's been exposed to being overweight, to being in the fitness industry, and realizing even in the fitness industry, there are so many people who are malnourished, taking narcotics, and present themselves as the healthiest person.
Oh, absolutely.
And so again, it goes both ways. What we think is thinking someone should look a certain way. And it's like, I'm going to use an analogy now, like a car. Okay, we think that this is the best car because it's a Tesla. Okay, and everybody's like, this is going to save energy, less gas, XYZ, right? And it looks phenomenal. Now you get a Tesla and it's all preference. I had a bad experience with it because the charging was just a mess. It was not, it was always like issues with the door going, the little Lamborghini doors. And again, it was for me, it was like the worst experience having that car. And again, you know, I get what you're trying to say because wellness has become a huge platform for me. It's so much more than just being the fit girl. I want to be the wellness girl. I want people to know that I do have adversities with my health. I'm very transparent about it, but also too, I think that there needs to be accountability for self-love, right? Because everybody is all about, you know, YOLO and I deserve this, right? And let me treat myself. But at the end of the day, do you really think you should be treating yourself because you are struggling with your weight or you're struggling with all these health issues? And there needs to become a balance where people need to have accountability. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. There's people walking.
That's podcasting in the age of COVID. It's
Yeah.
that's how
Hey,
we roll around here.
but yeah, I know what you're trying to say. And again, we don't know what happens behind doors. There's a lot of people who struggle with a lot of issues, whether if it's weight, and there's people who, again, and I'm not trying to side with you, I'm trying to give a different viewpoint with, or disagree with you, but I'm trying to give you a different viewpoint on how maybe companies are trying to advocate people who are maybe a
But
different size.
but again, is that commercialization, is that capitalism driving something that it shouldn't, right?
But it
Because
depends what
let's
it is. It depends what it is, right? Because it's lingerie, so that's different. So
well,
yes, I
clothing.
think they ship clothing.
Lululemon is a perfect example, right? Like
Yeah.
Lululemon has gone more plus size. A lot of these companies have, in recent years, been faced with a great deal of consumer blowback in this overly sensitive society. that they're
Mhm.
not catering towards a more plus size model. And this is with men and women, right? So it's straight,
Mhm.
it's both sexes. But what I keep coming back to is the rhetoric that always I get faced with when it comes to this conversation is, well, what about the people that have some genetic disease that doesn't allow them to have a 10% body fat? That
Mhm.
the number of people who have diseases, full on diseases that do not allow them to get to a BMI that's considered healthy, is less than 1% of the global population.
Mhm.
So that argument holds no water with me. That is a bullshit argument that people love to throw out there because they don't understand the science. I I don't care.
Well, let's
Do
get
you
into
love do
science
you love
then.
fat people, or I mean, do you love chub? Overweight. Whatever the approved vernacular is. I don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah, yeah. Well, I want to hear your insight because you keep talking about data and scientific like backing. What is the BMI like? Where is it like automatically after? Because plus size models like, what's their BMI? What does it take to be a plus size? I don't know this. We should probably do research on this, but and it varies again on people's height, right, and what they look like.
Well,
But
BMI is not, in the health world, BMI is not the end all be all, but there are, in a large enough sample size, statistical significance does make sense with BMI. And what we find is, in
Mhm,
the CDC said that anyone over 25, which is not obese, that's just overweight, is now at a greater risk for complications associated with COVID. So
mhm,
that's pretty significant, right? Anything over 25. Now, I would venture to say that this particular model that I'm speaking about from this particular company was probably in the realm of 35. What
mhm.
I would probably call morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Now, again, so the conversation always comes back to, is capitalism and the sensitivity driving behavior patterns that ultimately become not just unhealthy for that person who says, okay, well, now I can buy my plus size lingerie. The world accepts me as I am. I'm okay. But now, once that person is okay with being who they are, I'm not taking anything away from them as a human being. I'm not taking away anything, but physically who they are. And then they take that physicality out into the world where they now are presenting a higher probability of perpetuating this disease. It's a conversation that needs to take place. And, I
Mhm,
think that the companies that are promoting this need to take a step back from the commercialization and the capitalization of this and the market, and recognize that they do have a responsibility to the human race to not promote images that ultimately could be detrimental to other people. And you, I mean, like with your health issues, right? You could be a prime candidate where
mhm,
you're healthy, you focus on health and wellness,
mhm.
but
Yeah.
by a simple twist of genetic fate, you could be more susceptible to a mutation of this virus. And what if a super spreader, someone who had a 25 or 35 BMI, was in your presence for just a short amount of time and you got sick because of that?
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm
It's a
I'm not.
conversation. No, it's a conversation that is like literally we're sitting on glass and
Oh yeah.
like ice glass, like it can melt and it could break. But it's a conversation that people are very, it's a sensitive conversation that people are unwilling to talk about because there's so many variables to it. There's so many layers to it. But as far as the health and wellness industry promoting, someone trying to be healthy. I think fitness apparel lines should um, promote clothing lines as far as a wide range, only because it's going to promote them to get into taking care of themselves. Lingerie, I get it because of the love, and but yeah, there's certain companies that I feel like they have a responsibility, and um, I don't know. It's so hard because I've been in both sides,
Hmm.
and I definitely, and I struggle with it because when people see me, they don't think I've ever been overweight or I don't have any health issues. And I'm like, no, I have. And then they're more opted to understand and hear me out when I talk about it because I'm like, I was overweight and it was not the healthiest. And in fact, it hurt me almost losing my daughter during, my after my pregnancy, getting all this health. I'm sorry, my dogs are trying to knock down my phone. They're like, "You're paying too much attention to that phone. Listen to me." um, yeah, I don't know.
It's a tough
That's
one.
you know what? This would be a great conversation to talk on a live. We should do a live and hear what other people have to say about this, and maybe let people get on.
Oh, absolutely. Look,
Maybe
and
we
I'm
will.
not. Please understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm not here to, try to undo all of the marketing. I'm not trying to, make a cataclysmic shift in the way that, that we do things. I'm trying to give facts that, should inspire change. And the reality is that in our overly sensitive, everybody gets a participation medal society, that that ethos has the potential to do more harm than good, and I'm worried about it. I'm worried about our safety, I'm worried about our health, I'm worried about the continuity of existence here on this planet. And all we have to do is look at the disproportionate number of deaths in the United States compared to the rest of the world and recognize that we are by far and away, the most unhealthy country, out there, and put two and two together. The data is there. Even when the CDC, who's as, kind of, you know, vanilla as they get, says, yeah, this is a problem, it's time to pay attention.
Hmm.
And so there's one other thing that I want to recognize too, and this is where parents, you have to listen to this part. You can forget the rest of my ranting today, on this Sunday afternoon, but listen to this. T cells. So we have two elements of our immune system. We have our innate and we have our acquired. So our innate immune system is the thing that fights off bugs as soon as they come in. That's natural killer cells. That's lymphocytes. That's our white blood cells. Now T cells are memory cells. These are the cells that after the antibodies have gone away, those T cells remember. They remember that virus. They know what it looks like, and when that virus comes back, which it's most likely going to, those T cells act as armed guards and say, "Hey, we recognize you. We're going to come kick your ass." T cell production in obese people becomes stagnant. And what the data is showing is that people who are obese and even lose the weight have a diminished T cell response. So
Mm.
it's up to us to never get to that point. It's up to us to make sure that our kids do not get to that point. And there's an underlying belief with a lot of parents that it's okay. They can eat mac and cheese every day. They can eat corn dogs every day, and that eventually those healthy habits will come in, or will change things. No, fuck no, absolutely not. It is the time is now, because the data, absolute data, empirical evidence suggests that once we get to a certain point, we have this T cell senescence, which means that they don't activate again. So we are going to be more and more prone to these diseases. And believe me, this is not, whether it's COVID 2019 or COVID 20 or COVID 2025 or 35, this isn't going away. So the time for optimizing our immune response is now. And that comes with health, that comes with wellness, that comes with a lot of things that I know you talk about, Chadi. Um,
Hmm.
that's my rant. I've gone scientific
No, it's great.
geek mode today.
It's great, and I'm so glad that you said that because as parents, we try to be people pleasers with our kids, right? Just to shut them up. We're like, fine, here, take this. This is what you want. But at the same time, too, we do have responsibilities for their well being, their immunity, especially with times right now. And we want our kids to grow healthy kids to live a long lasting future in this world of what's going on. What we're feeding them is everything, and
Totally.
that's more than just on the plate. It's just everything with social media, from what we talked about to Halloween, and the capacity of like how much, you know, they're getting on candy to outside noise. And we are responsible even from racism. Like, we experienced Black Lives Matter this year. Now we have the voting stuff that's happening, and what we're feeding our kids is it's our responsibility. And I would say with what you just said right now, letting them have that mac and cheese, the Lunchables, you got to find healthier versions of it because it's just not healthy for them, and it does hurt them in the future. It's not just right now. The T cells, like, that's something that I was unaware of. I'm definitely going to share that with my boyfriend, and because again, we can only do what we can when the kids are with us, right? But when they're
Hmm.
back with their parents, the other parents, it's hard because they're like, well, my other parent gives me that mac and cheese and all that fun food. And
That's a great
Max.
podcast, right? Like, how do we talk to the other parent about these issues, in this age of COVID, right? Because that is a fundamental problem where if we're creating if we're creating medical problems, that could manifest
Hmm.
as diabetes, insulin resistance,
Yeah,
mitochondrial dysfunction, all these things that could prevent us from adequately stopping this virus from taking over. You know, isn't that child abuse?
it is a form of child abuse. I would think so. I think that letting your kids just binge on certain foods, especially, is like letting them like. I mean, because these sodas and these foods that have the sugar, that I think that's child abuse. I think there should be a law where parents are like educated on that. So, and there needs
Here
to be some type of.
here was my idea, and I kind of lost my shit when Bloomberg proposed the soda tax in New York all of those years ago, and it was, and I think they even did it here in California. There was a proposal to all caloric sweetened drinks were to have an extra tax, and that tax went into the general fund. I have no problem with the tax, but the tax
Mhm.
has to go to education. So my thought is nutrition and health training has to begin in kindergarten,
Yeah.
and it has to be a integral part of the curriculum from kindergarten all the way to 18, to and even in college, right? In college, kids are just going to eat beer and pizza anyway, so who, that might be a lost cause. But it's only by drilling that education into them from, kindergarten to high school, that they can be accountable for that education. And then at a certain point, if you still elect to eat or be unhealthy, then you have an extra tax or an extra premium on your insurance.
Mhm.
And so utilize those funds. If you're going to create a tax on soda, if you're going to create a tax on these things, and believe me, I think they should, but that has to go to education. We have to give parents and kids the education. I want a kid to go home and be like, you know what, mom and dad, I learned today that I should not be drinking soda, so I don't think that we should have that.
Mhm.
Like, the kids need to be able to tell the parents what's good and what's not good as well. Like, half of these parents
But do
don't
you
have
think
a clue.
this is a whole nother conversation because even then, do you think the government's going to provide that, knowing how much they're monetizing on kids getting sick and us like not being completely unaware that the fact that we're the ones that did it to them, And
I
again,
uh
that's a.
I had a conversation with a politician one time, and I had this brilliant idea. And then we're gonna have to close this one out.
Yeah,
Um,
we do.
my idea was, I was trying to think of environmental solutions to a lot of problems. I'm like, why not take federal prisons and make them responsible for producing biodiesel from algae? They can grow it in PVC pipes. The extraction method and the production of biodiesel is actually very simple. It's something, if they can make license plates, they can make biodiesel. That biodiesel goes to power all federal and city vehicles, from buses to aircraft carriers, right? And then anything left over, if there was anything left over, would be given to US based shipping companies who export US products to foreign countries to help us bridge that export gap on the cost of goods. I thought
Mm.
I'm like, this is my brilliant idea. This is my Mona Lisa. The politician said, it's a good idea, but it's very, very political, and you're never going to get anybody to sign off on that. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is the problem with politics, and this is my problem with
Yeah.
politicians, is that they all need to be hit in the head with a baseball bat. What you just said is a perfect example of the political realm. We can't get intelligent solutions to very real problems because, someone's being compensated in some capacity.
Yep. Yep. That's a mic drop
Well,
right there, unfortunately. And it's our responsibility. And again, we can sit there and promote all the sugar-proof books that we have. Like we did a giveaway a couple days ago, but again, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of money involved, and um, hurting us and our kids. And as parents, we have to do our due diligence.
I think I think we're gonna have to call this episode potpourri, because we just covered every freaking topic under the sun. Like,
Potpourri. We
potpourri.
should. That's actually funny. We should call it trail mix since it was
There we go.
Halloween.
Trail mix. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Single Parent Daily is called Trail Mix.
Yeah.
Um,
A little
actually,
junk, a little healthy stuff.
yeah, yeah. If you're lucky, you get an M&M, a peanut one. So at least you get the protein. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, we have covered a lot of topics today. I think this is one of those great, just single parent moments where we get to communicate with you, we get to vent, we get to rant, we get to debate topics that we're hey, we're having fun here.
Yeah.
So,
I think this is a good topic. I think there's a lot of stuff that we got down to the nitty gritty because a lot of parents, I'm sure we're all thinking the same thing, and we can't even think of one thing to stay focused on.
oh
So
my
it
God,
is what
we're
it
all
is.
ADD. It's I'm gonna
We're
start.
like, and then,
Yeah, next week we're gonna discuss putting Ritalin in your butt because that's the fastest absorption rate.
I
Is
don't
it?
want
I
to
don't
know
know.
how
I
you
just
know
made that
this.
up. I'm speculating. Anal Ritalin. Anal. Never mind.
Stop it, end
Cinnamon. Cinnamon. All right, let's put a bow on this.
it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into another edition of the Single Parent Daily Podcast with your hosts
Chady.
and Evan. Once again, we're quarantined, but we're in the same city. We're coming at you as much as we can with topics. Please hit us up. I know this trail mix episode kind of ran the gamut. We covered some really interesting stuff, I think, as it pertains to single parenting right now. But we'd love to dive deeper on this. Love to hear your feedback. What do you guys want to talk about? What do you guys want to know? What do you guys want us to share? And I did get one. Someone wanted to know what my most embarrassing moment as a single parent was. I want to do
Ugh.
the next episode of that. Most likely, I'm gonna tell a sexting story. So I'm sorry. It's just
Yeah.
it's
So
life.
tune in to the
Tune in.
next one to hear mine too.
Yep. Chadi and Evan sexting, not with each other, just
With others.
with others. Yeah, so we'll go from trail mix to sexting.
Perfect.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Bye, guys.